when you really go to polar regions, the biggest challenge is first to raise the money to go there, because it's extremely expensive. And especially if you want to spend more time there, you need such a lot of logistics just to sustain yourself. And sometimes people are asking me, why do you need so much time to be down there? But you spend so much time just to sustain yourself. You have to cut out ice just to get some drinking water, to melt it. It just takes all the time. And if you just think about how you finance these planes to bring all your equipment down, there are no charter flights down to the Antarctic. Maybe one day, but that's maybe not a favorable thing to do. But it is, well, that's the first really challenging step to do that. And when you do it for the first time, a big challenge honestly was for me the cold. So I was grumpy for the first week because I couldn't cope with the cold. But then when you freeze all together as a group, it's so much better because there is no difference between one and the other. So you build up this big solidarity, and it builds up very strong friendships as well. So you get a lot of presents out of that as well. If you're down on the ice and really freezing or suffering, you have to drill ice cores, and there are no machines working because it's so cold, and you freeze your hands off and you're really grumpy. So it's really it's a learning process, because when you're here in this civilized world, you just say maybe just leave it. But you can't say just leave it, because there is a whole lot of work in front of that. I mean, it's maybe a year of preparation. You cannot just quit from that. Another challenge is when it gets rough in polar regions, when it's getting rough inside the group, when there is any psychological pressure. So you have to really, you have to stay calm. You have to try to level it out between people, or even to bring yourself back to the ground. But you learn a lot about yourself. It's not just science, but it's also for yourself, for your own future, or for your being. And I love that really a lot. And what I really loved so much as a trait is, like when you're here in a big city, or when I'm home, there are so many thoughts going on, and wishes and desires which you think are so important for yourself, which you consider being a driver for your life. And suddenly when you're down on the ice, they all fall off. So you don't even think about maybe 90% of all that stuff. It's like a diet of thoughts. It's like a brain diet. And it really brings you back to the very basic stuff, which is in fact unimportant for you. And also to reduce your own ego. You can't have an ego on the ice. You have to be a group. You have to respect each other. There are just tiny things which could just destroy all this very sensitive equilibrium in this group. For example, here in New York, when you're in a group and you have a problem, it might be just easy to solve, but when you're on the ice, any tiny thing can just dump it. So it's a very sensitive thing to do, and it helps a lot, I think. I can't even tell the most enjoyable moment. It's it's the big everything for me, just to be on the ice, to be so privileged that I can go to these regions because it's so special. And I know so many people who would just die to go there and just to see it. And I had so many opportunities and I was so lucky to do that. But what I really like most on being on the ice is, maybe it sounds dumb, but when I'm on the ice I feel so invincible, like nothing can harm me. Even if there are so many dangers maybe, or even due to the fact that you are vulnerable. But I just feel nothing can harm me. That's just such a good feeling, and it drives you, and it's such a good motivation for your work as well. What I would like to do with my research is to change this old-fashioned picture that snow and ice is sterile. I try to reach as many people as possible in Austria or anywhere else where I am, to convince the people that there is life everywhere, that our glaciers, that they're not sterile, but they're a very sensitive ecosystem. And we have to learn to read this book in the ice or off the ice. And if you're able to read this book, then you can understand the past, and it helps you so much for the future. So these microorganisms living in these extreme environments, all these signals they give, they are so, let's say, they are not shadowed by any other signals. Like you can clearly distinguish them because there's not a lot of sidetrack. So you really have to keep your ears open, so to say, to learn to understand these signals, and they give us a lot of indication for environmental change. And I think that's crucial, especially for people who really live beside glaciers, where glaciers are vital for their daily lives and for our drinking water. And that's my goal, to convince these people. When I look back at my memories, or when I was talking to my grandfather, I said, "Grandfather, I will go to the Antarctic." I was really little and I didn't know what it meant. But my grandfather said, "That's nothing for normal people. No normal people can go to the Antarctic. It's just too far away. It's too expensive. You will never be able to do that." You just have to be a little bit of stubborn. You have to believe on this idea. You have to stick to that idea and don't let loose. Just there's so much motivation. Read about it. Take up all these inspirations you get, and don't think you cannot do it. They're just tiny steps. I never thought that I could go to the ice. In reality, I was just dreaming, but sometimes it's also fate or good luck that you meet the right people at the right time. But don't give up dreaming about it.